Ags, AB here from the tailgate. We talk Aggie football every day. Brought to you by Frida Custom Homes, building Aggie dreams. Don't forget, folks, email us at agstailgate@gmail.com. Send us some comments. Let us know what you think about the editing in the intro, baby. New intro on the video. Corey, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it, man. I liked it, especially for a guy that doesn't have any editing talent or skills. You did pretty well.
That I don't even understand how it happened. So
yeah,
pretty good. A couple of programming notes. Taking a little spring break for me here this week. So a little vacay time. So we'll be back next week, but it'll be a week before the next episode. Today we're gonna dive into some more Aggie specific stuff, but next week we'll start talking a little other SEC schools. Sort of what we saw from some of their spring games. We'll start doing some SEC rankings in different areas. So throughout the summer here, as we go into summer, we'll start doing a lot of stuff with regards to some of the other teams that we're going to be facing. We'll go deep in depth with the schedule as well and sort of what we think about those matchups. So just to give people a heads up about where we're going. Today, we're going to predict some award winners for the 2022 Texas A&M football team. We'll get into that here in just a little bit. But let's start with some news and notes. Corey, big-time performance by the baseball team this weekend. What'd you think, man?
Very impressed. I think it was Sunday night. I turned the game on. They were up like 6-3 or something. I turned it off and turned it back on in the ninth inning, and it was 18-9 or something stupid. In the finals, then they were up by 2 touchdowns, 23-9. Georgia was bringing in a everyday player to pitch. It was ridiculous. I mean, their offense, the Aggies have been good. Their offense has been great. The pitching's been better. The pitching's been a lot better. I mean, they scored 20-something runs in 2 games now? Is that 2 this year?
Well, I'll say this. I mean, obviously, yeah, this one 23, and I do believe there's another one.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, like you said, the lineup's been unstoppable, man. I mean, they really unbelievable. And I mean, they scored 8 in the first game. So they had a pretty good game in the first game in the series, right?
8 runs is all right. 23 is just that should be the standard from now on. 23. If you don't hit 23, then
at least average like 18 or 20, right? Like somewhere in there.
But you probably have to with that bullpen.
And one of the things is, hey, Detmer's been a pretty good pitcher for this group all of a sudden. SEC pitcher of the week, as a matter of fact. So he's had quite a few starts now in that Friday slot that he's shown he deserves to be the number one guy.
Right. What is he, a sophomore also, I think? I believe he's a sophomore. I'm not sure. So we got him for another year or two.
Hey, look, and this team looks like it's squarely in the postseason picture. Now, this weekend, or actually tonight, they play DBU, which is ranked number 25. And then this weekend, they play Arkansas, who's first in the SEC West, who is number 5 in the country. I mean, they're a legitimate title contender. So that week, that's a big series for them.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine. They just keep doing what they're doing because a lot of teams that were supposed to be really good have dropped off. The Ole Misses, Vanderbilt hasn't played what you thought they were going to do, and there's a couple other teams. But
on that note, Vandy, the teams they got left in the SEC are Vandy, South Carolina, and the 2 Mississippi schools. All of them sub 500.
Yeah, so I mean,
in the league.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still SEC baseball. I mean, you got to bring your game face. You never know what's going to happen.
100%. Just impressive. I mean, look, this team is now 8-7 overall in the league, and they're pretty much tied for 4th in the entire league. Tennessee's 14-1 and has been playing unbelievable. Arkansas, we've talked about it, number 5, 11-4. And then Georgia, who we just beat, is at 9-6. Everybody else is either tied with A&M or behind them. So pretty darn good.
Right now, the score is 6-0 Aggies in the top of the second inning.
Dude, those bats, my friend. Those bats. Yep. Unbelievable. So Another top 25 win. I mean, I think as long as they keep playing as they're playing.
Second inning. It's not over yet.
Hey, they may hit that 20 run mark.
That's what we have to do. We have to average about 20 runs a game. Looking good.
So the Aggie baseball team continues to play well. And like I said, the postseason is in sight. As you know, if they continue to play as they have been, they're going to make it. And with a chance to host a regional if they can get, a couple wins over Arkansas and then have a good finish, right?
Right.
Even one win over Arkansas, really. Women's tennis, and I've been mentioning these gals for the last couple of episodes, man. They've gone undefeated in SEC play, my friend. So they beat Arkansas, Missouri over the weekend. Now they are in the SEC tournament. They play the winner of the Vandy Ole Miss matchup. They have gone unfreaking defeated in SEC play. Pretty impressive, man.
I have no idea. Is the SEC known for its tennis, or is it?
Does it matter?
It'd be like if we had a hockey team. Would we be known for our hockey? I don't.
Does
think
it matter?
Would.
Undefeated. Most wins.
I'll give them props. Undefeated's undefeated, but
most wins in program history already. Most wins in program history already, and they're not done in the season, right?
Well, I'm just watching them. Have you been watching them on TV?
A couple of the ladies. J.C. Goldsmith, a senior from Dripping Springs, Texas. Tatiana Makarova, a graduate from Moscow. And Mary Stoiana, a freshman from Southbury, Connecticut. All undefeated in conference and all have 23 or more overall wins. I think those are pretty good numbers.
That's great.
Cheers to the Aggie women's tennis team.
All right. That's awesome.
All right. Now to football.
Right. There we go.
Let's start off with our player profile today. And a guy that I think is going to be a prominent piece of this team and specifically this offense, Devon Achane. All right. 5'9", 185-pound junior tailback out of Fort Bend, Marshall. Fort Bend, my old stomping grounds, where I coached back in the day. Fort Bend, but he's out of Marshall. Look, in 19, his senior year up there, he was the Touchdown Club Houston Offensive Player of the Year. And you know how big-time Houston recruits are in football. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment for a guy that's 5'9", 185 pounds. And we're going to get into his football stuff. But before we do, on top of that, he's a track star. The guy is winning medals in track in college, in the 100, the 200, and the 4x1. So pretty darn impressive just in that feat.
Mm-hmm.
And Corey, from the time he showed up as a freshman, he didn't play the entire season, he played about 8 games as a freshman. But his big playability was evident, clear. Thoughts, Devon Achane?
Oh, love the guy. He's amazing. I mean, you seem like you can't give him the ball enough because you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, what does he average? Like 7-8 yards a carry or something every time he touches the ball. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, like you said, he's 5'9", 185 pounds. 185-pound guy, I don't know how many hits he can take. I mean, I hope he doesn't take a whole lot, but at the same time.
It's hard to hit him.
Yeah, it's hard to hit him, but I mean.
It's hard to hit him. Look, and you think about the guy with his kind of speed, and you always think, oh, man, he's an outside runner. But he's got pretty good vision and moves inside the tackles, right? Now, he'll break through inside the tackles and then bust it outside. You know? But he's got good vision in that sense. You know, in watching him, don't get me wrong, look, in this past year, he had a phenomenal year as a sophomore. I mean, obviously, second leading rusher on this team behind Spiller with I think he had like 910 yards. But he also led the team in rushing touchdowns, right? And in spite of the fact that he's the smaller back, Jimbo likes to use them sometimes in the goal line or short distance and different things like that.
Yeah.
And from time to time, he'll break one like the Florida game. Remember, on the 4th down conversion, and he takes it to the house, right?
Right.
But the other thing to me is he's got a timing about some of his explosive plays. It's kind of
like he has another gear. I mean, it's almost like he has another gear. He's going. You're like, oh, is he really that fast? And all of a sudden, bam, he hits it outside and it's gone. I mean,
and he almost looks like he's just cruising.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's trying. It really upsets me.
He's
I'm running. I mean, you see me running. I'm trying to get it. This guy's like,
and I'm running like 2 miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing that gets me though is like just the timing of some of his plays, right? It's like the Alabama game, right?
The return?
To me, oh man, I think probably the biggest play of the game.
Right.
Because Alabama had just come back, right? I think they'd just taken the lead.
They had.
And they kick it off, boom. And there he goes, man. And if not, the momentum is 100% on Alabama's side. But that place goes wild. It goes absolutely berserk at Kyle Field, man, with that return, dude. And all of a sudden, you're right back into it.
Amazing. It was just amazing. I don't see him doing that a whole lot this year. I don't think Jimbo's going to let him return kicks and punts, but it's pretty impressive.
All right, so that brings up a question. All right, look, 100% the most explosive for this offense the last 2 years. We'll see if freshman Evan Stewart can give him a run for his money this year. I don't think so.
Yeah.
But
I'll tell you, Nias is pretty explosive himself, and Nias had a lot of explosive plays too in the punt game. And
and the biggest receptions all year all came from Nias, 100%.
Right.
All right, but here brings up a question. This guy's obviously super explosive, and he's probably averaged something along the lines of 10 to 12 touches throughout his career here, if that, per game. Touches. Jimbo loves it. I mean, at the end of last year, he was getting more run than Spiller. Do you expect him to have the 18 to 20 touches a game that Spiller had throughout his sophomore and junior years?
Probably it'll be close. It's going to be hard because, I mean, I don't know how many possessions, what the Aggie offense and defense is going to look like. How many possessions? If we run the ball like we did 2 years ago and we shorten the game, I don't see him getting those kind of possessions because I see him having a more running back committee. But if we're explosive, I think he could get more touches. I think that's going to be but yeah, I could see 18, 20 touches a game.
Yeah, I almost think it's, look, some games maybe, I almost think it's not give him 18 to 20 a game. Give him about 15.
Yeah.
15 a game. Maybe a big game, you give him 20, whatever. But keep that guy's legs fresh, man, and keep those explosive plays coming. You know what I mean?
I mean, 185 pounds, I mean, if you think about it, it's not that big. I mean, those guys that are 300-plus pounds, that's going to wear on you over time. And 15 carries a game times, you're talking 200 carries for the season almost if you average it out, 15 to 20 carries.
And 15 touches. I'm saying 15 touches. Carries, catches.
Yeah, either way. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Whatever.
That's a lot of wear and tear.
I think that's pretty good. So, hey, look, I fully expect this guy to be obviously the number one running back in the stable next year. I expect him to surpass the 1,000-yard mark. I wouldn't be surprised if he went for 1,200. I fully expect him to lead the team in touchdowns again. And honestly, he's probably the kind of like Spiller, the engine that's going to make this team go on a regular basis.
Gotcha.
So, Devon Achane, Giga. All right. Obviously, we love the guy. So let's talk a little bit about some of the awards for 2022. And I think we'll mention Mr. Achane a couple of times here. And let's start on that offensive side of the ball. All right, skill player of the year. Corey, I think there's only really two guys you can go with. Who are you going to choose?
Well, see, you're going with either Achane or Anias. But, I mean, there's so many options now. A lot of it depends on the quarterback play and who's going to be starting. And, I mean, I'm high on the tight ends. I'm high on Jake Johnson. But, yeah, I think you got to go with Achane here. I think so. I think he's going to have – if he gets the touches and stays healthy, knock on wood, and the offensive line does what we think it's going to do, he's going to be – at 1,200 yards, I think is going to be easy.
Better offensive line, right?
Yeah.
Better quarterback play, right? All those things, probably a better cast around him in general.
Right.
I got to think he's going to go for 1,200 yards and lead this team in touchdowns. Look, and here's my thing. I love Anias, and I think Anias Smith is probably the most valuable skill player on this team because of the fact that he does all the other things, right? He'll block, he'll do the fakes, he'll line up anywhere, he'll catch the ball, he'll run the ball, he'll do all those things. His numbers overall won't be Achane's numbers, I don't think. But maybe he does,
I mean, if this is a players award, if the players are giving
yards.
I think if the players are giving this award out, they'll give it to Anias. Just because all the stuff he does for the team. But if it's voted on by like fans or something like that, I think it'll be Achane because they'll look at more stats.
Achane. And obviously the wild card here is whoever the heck wins the quarterback job, specifically Haynes King. But I think that's a wild card. I actually think the offense, based off of what we know from Jimbo, still runs through the tailback here.
Right.
So that's why I would agree with you on Achane. All right, so here's a sort of a different type of award. How about toughness award for skill guys?
Toughness award for skill guys, like toughness.
Or let's,
I'm not really sure where to go with that. I mean, you talking tough like offensive line tough? You talking tough like
not offensive line because they're skill guys.
Skill guys, often. I mean, I'm just thinking. I don't know. I'm not sure where to go with the toughest guy. I mean,
look, I'll tell you this. I'll go first, and you can go think about this while we're going.
Go ahead.
I think it's Anias, and it's because of all the reasons I said earlier.
Yeah.
Because the guy will absolutely square up a linebacker if he's asked to. He'll go block on the outside every time he's out there. He's gonna go over the middle and take hits as he catches the football. He's just fearless in the way he runs routes. On top of that, he's got to be one of the smartest guys on the field because he knows every darn position.
I see what you're saying. I'd have to say Chase Lane probably just because he has to listen to us bash him every week. He's got to be pretty tough. Saying that he's going to lose his position every week and he's going to be in the transfer portal. I got to say Chase. I mean, I got to give him props. He keeps chucking away. He keeps going in there.
Hey, look, and Chase is a great Aggie, so I don't want to bash him too much. Max Wright is another guy you could think about. He does all the dirty work at tight end.
Yeah, he is. That's a tough SOB.
So he's just another guy that comes to mind for me. All right, how about this? Offensive lineman of the year. Best offensive lineman in 2022.
Oh, God.
I mean, there's probably 5 to choose from.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking Trainer he's always on my list because I like him because he's so durable. I think he's going to get a lot of playing time at left guard. And injuries are going to happen. That's the thing I like about it is the depth. I think he's going to be – he's not even considered our starter right now, but I think he's going to be our most valuable.
Look, and that's a great point because he's a swing guy, right? He can go play right tackle, right guard, left guard.
I mean, look what he did last year in the Alabama game. He got plugged in, didn't even know he was starting. We talked to his stepdad or something at the bar, and his stepdad goes, "Hey, my stepson or whatever starting the Aggie game. I was like, what?
Look, I love that choice. I really do. I'm going to go with the guy who I think is going to be the best offensive lineman on this team next year, and that's Fothery. I'm just super impressed with his feet, his awareness as far as where the defense is lined up and how they're shifting and doing things. He plays with such incredible balance. You never see him out about, those other guys, you see off balance from time to time.
Where do you see Fothery starting?
Green was off balance on every play last year.
Where do you see Fothery starting?
He's going to be starting at the right tackle is where I see it.
Right tackle?
Yeah, right tackle. And I see him in the NFL in a couple of years, by the way. To me, that guy's going to be our best player on the offensive line. I'm just super, super impressed really with, like I said, his balance and awareness.
Right.
As a former O-line coach, those are things that you notice very quickly,
Gotcha.
All right, so sticking with the O-line, how about most pancakes? So this is what offensive linemen, they get proud of this, man. It's like, pancakes, because that's how we reward them after the game.
Who's the guy that's not here right now? Their center, Foster. That's him. That big SOB is going to knock some people on their ass.
I think that's not a bad call. Yeah. I'll say this: if Foster gets to go play guard.
He's not playing guard.
Then I'd be on board with you. I'd be on board with picking Foster.
Oh, he's gonna snap the ball and pop him real quick.
Not at center. You don't get pancakes at center because you're always snapping a football.
No, he'll get him at center. That's what's gonna be impressive.
So it won't be Foster.
It'll be Foster.
I'm gonna go out on the limb here, and I'm gonna say it's gonna be Achane.
Who?
Aggie.
All right.
And Aggie, who we don't even know if he's going to start.
I was about to say, I was like,
limb.
Okay, yeah, that's out there.
I'm going to go out on a limb and go Aggie. And the reason
you go with somebody that you've been talking about the whole time. Zune or
Hey, Trey Zune's another good pick. Another good pick. Especially because at the offensive tackle, he's going to be facing some smaller matchups against the outside linebackers at times, defensive ends instead of defensive tackles. He might be coming up to the linebacker, climbing to linebackers at times on some of the stretch plays and things. So instead of being matched up against D tackles all the time, which are hard to pancake, go pancake some of those other skilled guys out there. So Trey Zune's got a chance to do this. But Aggie, to me, he's a big, powerful dude. And if he can get his feet right, then I think he has an opportunity to start really inflicting his power on those defenses. Aggie, out of nowhere.
It is out of nowhere. That was
all right. So let's move to another one that's probably a little easier to discuss. Newcomer of the year for this offense.
Jake Johnson.
Oh, I love it. I
think he's going to be borderline offensive MVP, to be honest with you. I think he's going to be right there. I think he's going to be that important to this offense for the middle of the field. I mean, I like Evan Stewart a lot. I like a lot of our skill positions, but we need that guy to keep everybody honest in the middle of the field. He's going to be what kind of like what Watermeyer was more of his freshman year, where he drug the middle open. He helped. I mean, just that running game's as good as an offensive line as good as we think they're going to be. It's going to be very important to keep the middle of that field honest.
Wow.
So that way we can get
I love the fact that you bought in on Jake Johnson. I do. Yeah. And look, I think he's definitely the best. I think he's going to be getting a lot of reps at tight end game one. How about that?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the clear-cut favorite, Evan Stewart, in this category because the guy's already the starter on the outside for this offense as a wide receiver. He's also already the big play machine where they throw it to him down the field like 3 times a game, and he makes
3 times
plays
a
on
game.
The ball.
You watch the spring game. They're throwing the ball downfield to everybody. They're throwing the ball downfield to everybody.
If you're going to do it in the spring, you might as well do it in the fall. That's all I got to tell you.
We saw that happen last year.
The guy is an athlete heads and shoulders above the majority of the guys we got out here on this field, even as a freshman.
Right.
And to me, the fact that they keep talking about how hard he works and the way the attitude which he has shown up, I mean, that speaks a ton for a guy that's that talented as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And look, I've heard all the same things about Jake Johnson. That's not taking anything away from him. Evan Stewart. He might lead this league in receptions and yards this year, this team. Just saying. All right. Here's the big one. Offensive MVP.
Anias. I mean, like I said, it depends on who's voting on it. If it's players, Anias. If it's fans, it'll be somebody maybe a little more flashy like Stewart or Achane, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you. You know, and look, I don't even have to get too deep into this. I've said everything I need to say about Anias Smith for the last 2 years. The guy's the best player on this team and has been, and he will continue to be. He's the offensive MVP. Achane might have the flashier numbers, you're right, but Anias is the most valuable player. All right, let's move on to the defense. And I added this little award here to this list because the D lost a lot of leadership with Leon, Leal, Peavy, Clemens, all those guys moving on to the NFL. Those were the Clemens, especially Leal, Leon, the vocal leaders of this defense. Leadership award for this defense because I think they need somebody to take that role.
I would like to see Cooper do it, to be honest. I'd like to see him be – because I think he's going to be all over the field. I think just making tackles, making plays, I'd love to see him take that. But Antonia Johnson, skill-wise, talent-wise, I mean, he's the guy that that'd be the smart choice.
Look, I'm with you. It's always great if your middle linebacker is that guy. But the other guy that falls right into that is your deep safety. And I think Antonia Johnson might take that role as that deep safety, sort of take that Leon O'Neal role and be able to sort of make sure that everybody's in the right places. I also think, just like you, that Cooper hasn't really established himself there yet, right? This is going to be his first year really being the number one guy at linebacker. And I think he's sort of got to do it with his play first, right? Antonio's done it, baby. Everybody knows who Antonia Johnson is because of the way he plays. Right. And to me, I think he's also going to end up being the leader on this team. You know, you think maybe on the defensive line, who's it going to be? Is it going to be McKinley? Well, McKinley's, I don't know. He's been in trouble. He's done all these things. So is he really that guy? I don't know. I want to see him perform most of all this year, right? But I think Antonia Johnson's probably the leadership award winner when it's all said and done. Damani's got a chance. Damani?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was thinking Damani also.
Yeah. And he talked about it the other day in the interview, right? He's had to take a little bit more of a vocal approach to his leadership, you know, where before he was more of a just actions, lead by his actions kind of guy. So a couple of, you know, some guys in the secondary there, I think, which makes sense because that's where the experience is coming back. All right, so moving up front, defensive lineman of the year.
Man, you know, I've always been high on McKinley Jackson, but I'm going to go with Turner on this one. I think Turner is going to break out this year. I think he has measurables that in a quick first step. Jackson's going to take on a couple blockers each game.
Yeah.
But Turner, I think he's going to be a difference maker. I think he's going to be able to get pressure after the quarterback. I don't think Jackson's going to do that. So I think the guy's going to get in there and really disrupt. And don't forget about Nolan. He's huge. The guy's, I mean, what I've heard about him is just he is huge. That's all I've heard is the guy is huge.
Huge and powerful.
Exactly. I mean, he is – I can't wait. I just can't wait.
So, look, I'm with you on some of this. First things first, McKinley Jackson is probably the obvious choice for somebody to pick, right? Mm-hmm. He's the junior. He's the elder statesman amongst the group, all those things, right? He's the guy that's been around. And you talk about penetrating skills as a defensive tackle. his freshman year, he showed a lot of that. Last year, not so much, but his freshman year, he did. If he can get back to some of that play, then maybe he's the most impactful there. But I like your pick, man. I love your pick. Turner, who played a bunch last year. I think for him, as his second year in the rotation, ends up being a guy that starts to really show out. And, he was having a really good spring. He had some knickknacks there at the end, didn't play in the spring game, but he was already showing. He was already showing and doing those things. I think the rest of those guys are still too young, right? If you talk about Adelier and Lucas and Diggs and, those guys still need to get on the field and do some more. And I'm not ready to anoint those guys. But one guy I was really impressed with in the spring and the spring game was Burris, right?
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
And so he had a pretty, big impact inside with the way he was able to get pressure and get off the ball. So maybe he gets into that mix. But I'd agree with you. Turner.
Where do you see Burris playing, outside or inside?
Inside. I think he's going to end up playing inside. And those two guys,
I just don't see a lot of playing time for him inside because
those two guys,
he's great, but I don't see him being as good as the other three that we just mentioned.
Those two guys, Burris and Turner, can both play inside out, right?
Yeah, I got you. That's why I was wondering if you think Burris is going to play outside maybe a little bit more. He seemed like he's a little bit quicker.
He is, and that's what I was impressed with is his quickness off the ball.
And he's not quite as heavy as some of those other guys.
Yeah, so it's good to have that problem where we're going to stick these guys that are that look like they're going to be productive, right? So, but I love the pick, man. Turner's a good call. All right, going to the back end. How about the coverage award? Who's going to be the best cover guy on this team?
Jalen Jones. I'm sticking with my man from last year. I was high on him last year. He did me right the first 2 or 3 games. After that, just went to crapper. But I'm high on the guy. He's got experience. He's got talent. It's always been there, and I think he's on to show out this year. He might even be my call for that first thing you talked about, leadership. I think he's going to take a leadership role too. He needs to. He needs to get up there. He's one of the senior guys on the team. It's time for him to step up.
He was one of the first 5-star secondary guys of Jimbo's recruits, right? Like he was he was the guy.
We've been stoked about it for years. Like, hey, Jalen Jones. He's going to shut him down.
Shut him down, baby. And
all he's done is shut me up.
And he's played from day one, right?
Exactly.
He's played from day one. I love the pick. But I'm going to go with Chappelle. I'm going to go with Chappelle.
He was the next Jalen Jones. That was the next Jalen Jones. Chappelle was. I mean, look what he did last year. He did great. Go ahead.
He did. Sorry. He started, as a freshman last year, man. The things that what he did last year as a freshman to me is just unbelievable, right? Thrown into the mix because of injuries and all the different things. But he's better than the guy he replaced because of injuries, right? He's better than Miles Jones and George, by the way. Those guys are good players, but Tyreek Chappelle is a better cornerback. Period.
Gotcha.
And he was our best cover guy last year, by the way.
I hear you.
And I fully expect him to do the same this year. And
I hope so. He better.
I hope that he progresses as a sophomore from what he did. I'll give you a dark horse here. Denver Harris. The 5-star freshman.
That is a dark horse. I wasn't expecting you going there.
Yeah.
Well, I hope these guys can do a lot of man coverage. I hope to see a lot of man coverage this year with what I expect this defense to do.
And that's a key right there because I think with Denver, you've got a guy that's very slight, right? So you may be able to stick him out there in coverage one-on-one and let him cover. But if you're going to give him a lot of responsibilities as the guy that comes up and holds up on the run and things like that, he's going to struggle a little bit, right? Those are the things. That's not going to be his strong suit in year one anyway.
I mean, that secondary and even those linebackers, we have so much speed in there. I mean, if we get teams in 3rd and 10, I put 7 of those guys out there with so much speed, and I just put them man and just get after that quarterback with the other guys. You don't know who's coming, and just because those 4 defensive linemen, they're going to need 5 or 6 guys to block our defensive line. You're going to have to keep 8 guys in,
and then you blitz from anywhere. Right?
Exactly. I mean, just the speed alone is going to get to him. It's going to throw you off your game. I'm talking turnovers. I'm excited. Let's get the season started.
And to be honest, after the spring game, I have a feeling that's going to be a lot of that because he was showing those blitzes in the spring game when people normally don't show anything.
I'm pretty sure he's listening to our podcast. He's listening to our podcast. He's got to be.
Well, I talked to him the other day. He's
there you go.
He loves the advice. He loves the advice.
Yeah.
All right. Big play award. This is the guy that's consistently making big plays.
I said it. I mean, it seems easy to say Johnson or Richard. I'm going with White because I've been high on White since the season ended last year and coming into this. I like what the guy has, his motor. I think he's gonna lead our team in sacks. I think he's gonna get big hits in the backfield. I think he might get burned a few times. Don't get me wrong, because he's gonna overplay. I mean, he's not gonna read like you want your linebackers to read. He's just gonna be go get him. All right, see you later. That's what he's gonna do. So I like White. That's my guy. Big play. If you want a big play, you're gonna go get him.
I like the choice in White. And I'll probably take White here in a minute, but I'm just going to give it to the best player on the field, and that's Antonia Johnson. And
I mean,
I'm not even going to have to elaborate. I don't even have to elaborate on that.
You say the best player on the field. That's a bold statement because there's a lot of really good players on that field.
True.
I mean,
and that's exactly right.
So,
all right. How about biggest hits? Who's the guy that people are going to be like, ooh?
I mean, I can see White doing that, Cooper doing that, Damani doing that, Antonio doing that. Antonio Johnson had some great athletic plays last year. I don't know about the big hits, but I mean, just jumping, he had great plays. White had some big hits last year. Cooper had some big hits. I'll stick with White again. I think he's going to be big hits also. I think he's going to make big plays, and those big hits are going to cause those big plays.
Look, I'll tell you what, I'm going to agree with you on this one. On the big hits, I'm going to go with White. To me, the guy's a downhill runner. He's going to come right up and stick you.
That's what I think you're going to see a lot.
And with this defensive line, by the way, protecting him, that's going to take on blockers more than they have in the past instead of penetrating.
Exactly. Yes.
I think this guy's going to open up and be able to just nail some folks. So I'm going to go with you and White.
Yep.
All right, how about this one? How about the turnover chain award? Who's getting the most turnovers on this defense? And by turnovers, obviously interceptions,
right?
And fumble recoveries, or do you want to go force fumbles?
I'm liking Cooper on this one, man. I think Cooper's going to be because I think he's going to be in coverage more than White will, and I think because of the pressure we're going to get from either the line, White, maybe a defensive back blitzing. I think Cooper and Antonio are gonna reap the benefits because their read skills are gonna be better than the other. And that's where it's gonna come into is reading the quarterback's eyes. They're gonna be able to sit more in a. Man,
I wanted to go Cooper so bad. You know how excited I am about Cooper. I wanted to get him in on one of these categories. I loved it. But once again, I'm going Antonia Johnson. Why? Best player on the field. Why number 2? And this is very important. I think he's going to be playing a lot more deep safety here with the ability to just read the quarterback and just make plays over the top and different things, break on the ball in the air, and hopefully create more interceptions as well as opportunities to get some big hits on some receivers and do some things in the fumble game. So, Antonia Johnson.
See, I wonder if that's a mistake because what he did last year wasn't that. He was more of an attack guy last year. At nickel. And so, I mean, I just don't know if this is going to be a mistake putting him in a different position because we know he excelled at what he did last year. So why take him away from that? So I don't know.
Well, I think in this scenario, one, we need somebody to be able to do that, to take that Leon O'Neal role. I think that's important.
What about Damani?
2, Damani's still more of an in-box guy to me. He did a lot of cover 2 in the spring game, though. He was kind of the deep pass safety. So, and he looked good, so Damani's out there. I think with Antonio, though, what you do get is the ability to sort of adjust to different formations. So he could start off deep and then all of a sudden roll down and play some of that nickel and up front stuff. And then all of a sudden roll him back into that deep safety when you're doing some sort of blitzing and let him roam in the middle of the field. But he was so good at his role last year. He's mastered that. Now you can expand his horizons a little bit. You can give him a little bit more to chew on. Add to some of the deep middle, not all the time, but allow him to sort of shift up back and forth and disguise some things. And I think it'll give him some opportunities to make some big plays too.
Right.
All right. Newcomer of the year for this defense.
Nolan. I'm going with the big guy. I'm excited about him. I've been excited since he signed. I want to see if he can really do what they're saying he can do. Like just be the size and do it against these college guys instead of high school kids. So,
that's a great pick. I'm going to give you a dark horse one, and I don't know how dark horse it is, but Bryce Anderson. And if look,
talking about defensive back, the DB,
safety, and the guy. I thought he was probably maybe going to take a little time to completely develop. He played all over the field as in high school and all those types of things. But the guy's a phenomenal athlete, and watching him in this spring, he's super aggressive. He's physical as a guy that just showed up from high school, extremely physical in that sense, and he's got excellent cover skills. And when we saw him the other day in that nickel spot that Antonia Johnson started to, last year, obviously, and played some as a freshman, man, he looked very natural there, dude. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's getting some reps there. And maybe it's not the nickel, maybe it's the dime, right? Playing that inside cover guy, sort of hybrid guy in that sense. But just a dark horse, right? Anderson there.
There you go.
All right, so defensive MVP, Corey. I think everybody knows who I'm going to go with because
I'm probably unless the guy I'm talking about has a really big season like White, that's a dark horse. But the safe bet would be Antonio.
Yeah, I mean we've been talking about it the whole time. I think it's clear who we like there. All right, so lots of great stuff. I do want to add before we go to the questions from the tailgate. So a little bit of breaking news here on the pod today. Inside sources. I've been talking to a bunch of different people, and I was talking to somebody the other day who has an inside connection to our boy Conner Weigman. And Conner's living a good life. So in what he told me, not Conner, but one of his good buddies.
Yeah.
What he told me is this. One, apparently that NIL rumor may be partially true because Conner is getting paid. That's
not surprising.
Not surprising. $500,000 this summer, $500,000 the next summer. The guy's getting $1 million over the first year that he's here. Pretty nice little start to the college career without having taken a snap.
Who's he NIL with? Like
we didn't
just A&M or is it somebody outside of A&M?
We didn't get the details of who it was with,
Gotcha.
But we did hear that it's $500,000 this June, $500,000 next June. The guy's going to get paid. He's going to be living all right. He's not going to have to stick to ramen noodles or anything like that.
He should. Builds character.
I think they buy all the NFL. All the football team players drinks at Northgate for free anyway, so he doesn't really have to worry about that either.
I did
that. The other piece that we got from the conversation with Conner is Jimbo's a hard ass. That's no surprise.
I think you need to be.
It's no surprise.
Most
right?
of the great coaches are, aren't they?
Yeah, and you see him every day on the sideline. He's over there chewing those guys out.
How you get better?
Wrong. One thing I will say is, when as a coach, we had the rule of 3, right? You give them 3 coaching points at one time because they're not going to be able to do more than that.
Right.
That's it.
They won't remember it.
Yeah, they won't remember. So Anyway, but Jimbo's a hard ass. No surprise there. All right.
What do you hear about Saban? What do you hear about Saban and Belichick? You hear them being, they're nice and cuddly guys?
Oh,
no,
yeah, cuddly. Saban's cut. Saban is actually softened up over the years. I think the last couple of years he's been a lot nicer, but still a hard ass and still less liked than probably anybody else around. So
absolutely,
that's part of it. Questions from the tailgate brought to you by Rawson Distributing, assisting Aggies with all their drilling needs. All right, question number 1, Corey. Draft coming up here in a little over a week. NFL draft. Which Aggie would you take first? Now, I'm not saying number 1 overall, but let's say you've got a draft.
Would I take first?
Which one of these Aggies do you want on your team first, above all?
Probably Spiller. I mean, I'm just a Spiller fan. I enjoyed watching him play. I think he's an aggressive back. He hits the holes pretty well. His hands were better than I thought they were. He's not light. I think we're going to miss him. I think we're going to miss him splitting carries. So I liked him a lot. I mean, I'd put him and Leal right up there, 1 and 2, because Leal I thought was what he could do moving around the D-line. And I think whoever gets either one of those 2 guys will be very happy.
Man, we are in sync today, buddy.
Wow, because
100% I think it'd be Spiller. It'd be Spiller, Leal, the 2 guys that I was thinking about. But I still think I'd go with Spiller. I think he's a day 1 starter in the NFL on a team that's got a good offensive line and you can just go hand it to the guy, right?
I'll tell you who I'm gonna miss the most from last year's team is probably O'Neal, though. I'm gonna miss the hell out of him. I think he did a great job coaching that defense and not, being the leader on that defense.
Yeah. And you say, many times with regards to this defense for next year, we're going to miss that. We still don't have that presence or that guy that's going to take that spot. Now, I agree. I mean, that's probably the hardest one to replace. So we'll see what that happens. But I think as far as who I would take on my NFL team, NFL roster number 1, it would be Spiller.
Yep.
All right. Question number 2. And this is an interesting one. So, man, the Aggie fans across all social media have been absolutely outraged because ESPN FBI rankings came out this past week. And the Aggies are 14. If I finish the statement there, I don't know. I could see that. Maybe 14. Maybe they should be 9 or 8. A lot of people want them at 5 and 6. I don't know. They still need to prove something to me. So maybe not 5 and 6, but 14 in that range. I'm not upset about that. I'm okay. But let me finish the statement. Within those rankings, TU, the school in Austin, ranked number 6. Auburn, who's likely going to start the A&M backup from last year, ranked number 10. Those 2 teams there sort of exemplify how crap these ESPN FPI rankings are. Corey, I'm going to let you talk about it.
It's unbelievable. I don't understand these rankings at all. I mean, I don't think they go anything with what the rankings will be when the season starts, but Texas, I mean, they had a tough schedule last year. They lost to Kansas. Kansas was really good last year. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm sure they reloaded. I mean, it's ridiculous. And Auburn, I mean, their coach, they were trying to fire their coach a couple months ago. And our 4th string or 5th string quarterback might be their starting quarterback.
They lost 2 offensive coordinators this offseason.
Yeah, 2. I mean, in our 4th or 5th string quarterback, Calzada would be 4th or 5th string on our team right now, and he might be their starting quarterback. So you mean to tell me, and what they're talking about is their defense is so good. Really? They're going to be playing A&M, Alabama, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. I mean, I'm not even sure what they're off. And then you got Texas is playing Alabama, one of the first games of the season.
Yeah.
I mean, is this a joke? I don't understand this at all. This doesn't make any sense. I mean, I read some of this stuff on here about the CPI, and they had experts weighing in, and they said, who's the top team outside the top 10 that could make a run? Of course, they all said A&M, because A&M has 59. Where was it at? I just read it. 59 of the last top 300 players in the last 4 years. That's pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
And then they have,
it speaks incredible to what Jimbo's been able to do on the recruiting trail. Absolutely.
And they also said that he says it might be, what does it say? One of the best offensive lines in college football. I'm not sure about that. That's a pretty bold statement after what I saw last year.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're going through all this and reading about it. I mean, and they're all bashing Texas on here, and they're bashing Auburn. They're like, how can you pick these guys? I mean, there's other schools that should be. They set up there like Utah, which had a good season, has a good the conference isn't quite as hard. They're talking about teams like Clemson. They have number 4, who I wasn't that impressed with them last year, but they're in a weaker conference.
They got something to prove, but they got a weaker conference, absolutely. And they got something to prove after a 10-win season, right? So,
but the Longhorns, the Longhorns lose to a team outside the top 25 almost every year in the past. I don't know how many years. It's ridiculous. Yeah, and they think that's going to change. I mean, Oklahoma's down. It doesn't matter. They're still going to lose to Baylor. Baylor's coming back with most of their weapons. Who else was the team? Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's bringing back stuff. I mean, these two teams are feeling disrespected. I would be disrespected if I was Baylor and Oklahoma State. I'd beat the hell out of Texas.
and I guarantee you they've got both Oklahoma and Texas circled on their calendars already because they're the two teams wanting to leave the league. Quick point on the Aggies side of things. The Aggies do play 7 teams on this top 25 FPI rankings, by the way, because Miami's in there. The 2 Mississippi schools are in there. Florida's in there. I don't know how all these schools are in there, but they're in there. LSU is up at number 11. I don't know how they deserve 11.
That's higher than A&M.
And Bama's obviously at number 1. So 7 teams on the Aggie schedule in the FPI rankings.
Unbelievable.
Corey, brother, it's been fun, man.
Yeah.
Gig 'em Aggies. AP Corey signing out from the tailgate.
All right, buddy.
Late.